गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्री राम जय जय राम। 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 जय जय राम। जय जय राम। ॐ रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। अतुलितबलधामं हेमशैलाभदेहं दनुजवनकृशानुं ज्ञानिनामग्रगण्यं सकलगुणनिधानं वानराणामधीशं रघुपतिप्रियभक्तं वातजातं नमामि। रघुपतिप्रियभक्तं वातजातं नमामि। ॐ श्री हनुमते नमः। हरि ओम। सुप्रभातम्। We will chant the shlokas for your information. These are called as chaupais, and the last two from Maha Ajaya Samsara Ripu, from there it is called as Doha. So the initial portion right from the beginning up to Katahu Ripu Take, up to that it is called as chaupais. We will now chant. रावनुरथी बिरथ रघुबीरा देखि विभीषण भयउ अधीरा अधिक प्रीति मन भासंदेहा बंदी चरण कह सहित सनेहा नाथ नरथ नहीं तन पद त्राना केहि विधि चितब वीर बलवाना सुनहु सखा कह कृपा निधाना जेहि जय होई सो स्यंदन आना सौरज धीरज तेहि रथ चाका सत्यशील दृढ़ ध्वजा पताका बल विवेक दम परहित घोरे क्षमा कृपा समतार जुजोरे ईस भजनु सारथी सुजाना बिरति चर्म संतोष कृपाना दान पर सुबुद्धि शक्ति प्रचंडा बर विज्ञान कठिन को दंडा अमल अचल मन त्रोन समाना समजम नियम सिली मुख नाना कवच अभेद विप्रगुर पूजा एहि सम विजय उपायन दूजा सखा धर्ममय असरथ जाके जीतन कहन कतहु रिपुता के महा अजय संसार रिपु जीति सकई सो वीर जाके असरथ होई दृढ़ सुनहु सखा मति धीर सुनि प्रभु बचन विभीषण हर्षि गए पद कंज एहि निस मोहि उपदेसहु राम कृपा सुख पुंज सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय बोलो भय सब संतन की जय। भगवान श्री रामचंद्र जी now is explaining to Vibhishan ji what is the real chariot required to succeed in a challenge. Here, one is with reference to the war that is going to happen between the Ramchandra ji's forces and the Ravana's forces. And the other face of the coin is the challenge which all of us are facing in the form of this samsara. And in that, Bhagavan started Sauraj, Dheeraj, Tehi Ratha Chaka. The wheels are Sauraja, Shauryam, and Dheeraja, Dhairyam as the two wheels. Satya Sila Dridha Dvaja Pataka. There are two. One is the main flag which represents the kingdom, and two, the smaller flag which is called as Pataka. In the olden days, see, what actually was there you and I may not have seen, but we only hear from the various sources, from the textbooks what has come. The Dhwaja would be a taller one. The Pataka is normally a triangular flag which is smaller, whereas the bigger flag is a different one. The bigger flag will always have the symbol of the very kingdom. Incidentally, we all know Arjuna's Ratha had Anjaneya. It was called as Kapidhwaja. Hanumanji in the flag. So one symbol is represented through the flag. Satya Sila Dhrida Dvaja Pataka. Both the flags must be very well rooted. And what are they? Satya and Shila. These two we discussed yesterday. Now the next one is a very, very, very important factor which we must be very attentive. Bhagavan says, Bala Viveka Dama Parahita Ghore. 4 horses. What are the 4? The qualities which we have to imbibe, which can drive us. 1, it can drive us haywire if we don't control them. It can take us to our destination if we control them. And that is being beautifully said here. Bala, strength. What is this bala? Earlier days, was listed in the third world countries, among the third world countries. There were 3 groups of countries in the world, and Param Pujya Gurudev would add one more, make it 4. What are they? The first one is called developed countries. Second one, developing countries. Third, in which India actually was, is underdeveloped countries. And Gurudev would add never developing countries. This Punya Bhumi Bharata was kept in the third lot as underdeveloped countries. It was when our ex-president, former president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, under the inspiration of the then Prime Minister, that was Narasimha Rao, and then it was activated during Atal Bihari Vajpayee, during that small span of his time. But the work started, and one nuclear bomb which India produced. Look at the change of scenario. The moment India produced that bomb, we declare to the world that we are capable. At that particular time, America raised a big hue and cry. They brought a lot of sanctions. Very many people. Why other countries? Our own people stood up and said, why was this required? So much of millions of dollars was spent unnecessarily. What are we going to prove? So many people said so many things. At that time, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam said one statement. This all of us must remember till our last moment of life. Strength respects strength. There is a beautiful Subhashita. Vidvaneva vijanati vidvajjana parishramam nahi vandhya vijanati urvim prasava vedana. Only a Vidwan will understand the other Vidwan. Therefore, having recognized another Vidwan, he will respect that Vidwan. Why? For his Vidvatvam. Similarly, India became a nation which was looked up by very many countries after that particular incident. You are respected only when you are strong. Think. That is at a very different level. Talk about your own families. In your own family, the survival of the fittest. Be it in the family circle, be it in the friend circle, be it in the official, professional circle, be it any circle you want, survival of the fittest. The one who is strong will be respected. And when we say strength, there are varieties of strength. Physical strength, emotional strength, intellectual strength, and we, the seekers, spiritual strength. We must be strong in all the 4. Physical strength is very important to meet the goal of the other 3. demand the attention and it will distract ourselves from our goal of life. Think. And people say, Swamiji, all this spiritual science and all, Swamiji, we will think about it after retirement. Think. When there is enough strength for us to face the challenges of life, if that time we cannot give time, what time can we give when we don't have strength? Think. If the physical body has no much strength, develop. Work out. Do some exercises. Do some yoga. Do some pranayama. There are plenty available. At that time, work and gain the physical strength. Once the physical body is good enough, strong enough, then you will find it no more demands extra time. It will allow me to function further. The second one is the emotional strength. Very many of us, we are weak emotionally. It is psychological insecurity, emotional insecurity, which pulls us down from our abilities and makes us weak. And from that wonderful nature of being emotional, we slip down to becoming sentimental. They are two different things. Emotions are the very nature of every single human being. We are born with it. In fact, that is the main strength we have. It is that emotional qualities that brings us together and makes us stronger. We are not some objects. We are also called social animals. We have to live together in this world outside. Therefore, being emotional, one need not put in extra practice. That is our nature. Bhagavan has given us all such qualities. But what do? We fall prey to what is called as insecurity, a feeling of insecurity, and from that wonderful, glorious state of being an emotional personality, we fall down to become sentimental personality. Then what happens? I, who is a very strong person emotionally, fall down to become a weakling, begging for securities. Think. Somebody did not smile, I become frustrated. Somebody did not send good morning, early morning, I become frustrated. Somebody did not send one emoji in today's world. One emoji can distract a very efficient person to what? So cheap. Think. To that extent, we have fallen from our abilities, capacities, etc. to small, petty emoji beggars. Think. See how weak we are. How incapable we become. For what? For small things. Why? Dependency. Think. We are so weak emotionally, we are so weak mentally that the mind takes away all the wonderful time we have to march ahead in our goal, towards our goal, and we get stuck with petty, paltry, cheap, useless, worthless, unproductive, meaningless activities of the world, only to regret later. Think. The world did not ask us to be so. So-called people whom you are dependent upon, they also did not ask us to be so. Please think. Out of my own unintelligent way of thinking, I surrendered myself to my own sentiments. Because of what? Weak mind. Think. The one who is strong, who has got that bala, is a person who will not fall prey for all such petty things, but he grows out of such things. Let me clarify here. This is not to point a finger on what we have been doing. It is only to make us bounce back to our own capacities, leaving behind whatever we were holding on in the name of hanging over for security. Think. Emotions are different. Sentiment is different. Emotions continue to be because it is my nature. Sentiments are those which are not my nature, which I have picked up out of my own weaknesses. I have surrendered myself at the feet of such sentiments, and I become a beggar of peace. When Bhagavan says balam, it means grow out of such. Since we have picked up that weakness, we also have the ability to drop that weakness. Think. Anything that which is my nature, there is nothing called picking up, there is nothing called dropping. Love, compassion, unity, all these are my very nature. There is nothing called picking up, there is nothing called dropping. We are born with it, we die with it. Whereas, that factor with which I have placed the dependency on, it did not come with me when I took birth. I picked it up after so many years when I started independent thinking. Please note. As long as I did not have independent thinking, I had independence. The moment I started independent thinking, instead of thinking in the right direction, I placed dependency at the wrong places. Think. Therefore, when Bhagavan says balam, It means get back your strength. What is that strength? My own emotional strength, which has dragged me down from my elevated state to a common beggar in the society. Think. Emotional strength. Even in the society, even around us, you will find the one who is always laughing, who is always in a position to support others, who is able to help others, who is bringing a beautiful atmosphere wherever he is. Such a person is highly respected than a person who cries in the corner. Is it not? Param Puja Gurudev very beautifully said, there are two types of people. One who bring happiness wherever they go. The other whenever they go. Think. A person who is strong emotionally will distribute happiness. The other will only beg for happiness. The one who is strong physically and emotionally will also find it easier to become intellectually strong. How? That unit of my mental energy, which has been wasted on such petty, paltry dependencies of life, is no more dissipated. They are collected, composed, gathered, channelized into gaining the knowledge. Knowledge is strength. Think. And it is this knowledge that can take us away from samsara. Jnana deva tu kaivalyam. And when we say knowledge is strength, the well-educated, you remember? Vipraha sarvatra pujyate. He is respected everywhere. Why? He has strengthened himself with knowledge. Think. Intellectual capacity can be beautifully developed when I don't have any loopholes for wastage of energy. How do I waste my energy? Through sentimental, irresponsible, unproductive, useless dependencies. Think. When I just gather all those energies, channelize them in a particular field of activity, and through that channelization, gain the knowledge. Think. A laborer who is slogging and sweating is not paid much. But an executive who comes later in a beautiful, probably a Mercedes or a BMW AC car, gets into the office in an AC room and sits there probably for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, is given a very, very thick packet. Why? It is only because of the inner strength he has to face the challenge. Think. Therefore, Bala, Sharira, Mana, Buddhi. And what is spirituality? Integrity of all these three put together is called spirituality. Again, if I can draw Param Puja Gurudev's statement, I become efficient only when I am integrated. Think. Efficiency is the capacity to bring proficiency into expression. This can happen only when there is no leakage of energies. What is spirituality? Spirituality is the capacity to smile, not because of situation, but in spite of situations. Let me repeat. Spirituality is the ability, the capacity to smile genuinely. Not the photographer's, the photographer should not come and beg, smile please. Think. Where I can smile not because of anything, but in spite of everything. That is integrity. That is spirituality. And this can happen only when I gather not only the physical strength, but also the inner strength. And such a strong person alone will be respected. Such a strong person alone can march. Such a strong person is able to face the challenges of life, and such a strong person alone can reach the goal in spite of anything. Upanishad says, Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. A weakling can never gain the higher knowledge. Therefore, bala. Next one he says, Viveka. Remember, this is Audhi Bhasha. In Audhi Bhasha, Viveka is written as Viveka. Now don't go to correct that the thinking that it is a spelling mistake. I reminded this in the first class itself. These are written in Audhi Bhasha, and what is written is correct according to that Bhasha. We need to understand what it is. Viveka. What is Viveka? Viveka means discrimination. Today, when we say discrimination, it is a wrong word. It is a bad word. Why? People talk of gender discrimination, language discrimination, political discrimination, all those discrimination. Only these people talk. Discrimination has a much greater meaning. What is Viveka? Viveka is the ability to discriminate and choose. This ability of choice is given only to human beings. And what kind of choice? Intellectual choice. Animals also have a choice whether to eat something lying on the road or not. A dog would go, it will just smell something. If it feels comfortable, it will eat. If it is not comfortable, it may leave it and go. But that is not intelligence. Think. A dog which is not choosing to eat a particular thing in the road is not intelligence. It is instinct. Think. Whereas we, the intelligent human being, have got a choice which we can choose intelligently. What do you mean by intelligently? Based on the knowledge that I have got earlier, based on the experience that I have got earlier, and based on the current logical thinking, I can choose. Think. The next point. Whenever I have this discrimination, what comes into picture is judgment. Is it not? I judge between that which I have discriminated. Whenever I have to judge, then the judgment comes into picture with reference to the knowledge that I have already got. Based on the knowledge, based on the experience, and with my intellectual capacity to discriminate, I judge and choose. Thus, when my judgment is appropriate, my choice is also appropriate. When my judgment is wrong, my choice also will be wrong. This ability to judge between the right and wrong, good and bad, pleasant and unpleasant, conducive and unconducive, all the choices are based on my judgment. And this judgment is made with knowledge, experience, and the ability to discriminate. Every wrong judgment can lead us to regrets. And very many times, the regrets of the past has always eaten our mental capacities. Is it not? And whenever the regrets come to my mind, I become anxious for the future. Therefore, the anxiety in me for the future also dissipates my current energies. Think. Regrets of the past, anxieties for the future, together brings in excitement in the present. This excitement in the present also disturbs my mind, distracts my mind. Think? Thus, the past has distracted me. The future already has started distracted me. And in the present, I am anyway distracted. Such a distracted mind can never be able to achieve anything, can never be able to succeed. Even a child, when it is going to write an exam, the parents, the neighbors, the elders, why, even the younger generation will say, sit, don't get distracted, concentrate. For what? Think. Therefore, viveka is a quality which is extremely important for everyone to exercise, judge rightly, appropriate choice have to be made, and that choice must be applied. Think. Such a person who is able to apply his choices and judge properly, discriminate rightly, is a person who can succeed without stress. It's a very big topic today. Success without stress. Think. Success without stress meaning what? Success being natural. Again, Gurudev would say, success is my birthright. There is nothing called achieving success. In fact, it is a wrong statement. Success is my birthright. But why am I not successful? Because of my inability to discriminate rightly at appropriate time. Therefore, Viveka is very, very important. The third one is Dhamma. What is Dhamma? Self-control. Another way of putting it, mastery over the senses. Every sense organ, this you will definitely accept whatever I say. Why? Everybody's experience. Every sense organs want pleasure. Yes or no? What else are we doing? Tell me. Sit down. 10 minutes you sit down in your room. Close the room. 10 minutes you sit down. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. Find out. Everything I want to see, I want pleasure. Yes or no? Everything I want to hear, I want pleasure. Taste. Talking. Non-stop nonsense. See? Why? Pleasure. It gives us something called a kick. And we get attached to those small little pleasures which we think is bringing happiness to me. Think. When I have placed my inner subjective, private, personal heart, which is the very abode of happiness, and where have we placed it? We have placed it in different things and beings of the world, and what have we become? We have become beggars of peace. And then what do? We become a slave to everything around the world, and therefore the more and more I become a slave, the more and more I stretch out. See? The more and more I stretch out, the more and more I lose control of them. And the more and more I lose control of them, they run far away from me. Early morning I get up and the first thing I do is bye. I send all the senses in all directions. And the interesting part, each sense goes in all directions. Every single sense goes in all directions. Where will you search which sense and bring them back? Tell me. People come and say, Swamiji, it is such a painful thing. I am very disturbed. I am very distracted. Please tell me what to do. Who asked you to go early morning? Think. I volunteer to go and go run behind. Please come back. Think. I have the ability, I have the capacity, I have the technical know-how, but I volunteered because of lack of self-control called Dhamma. Once I am able to control my senses, they have to obey me. I don't have to obey them. Who has to obey whom? The CEO of a company has to obey a laborer in the company? Or the laborer must quietly listen to the CEO? In our case, we are the CEOs and all these sense organs have to be under my control. Now I have become a beggar under all those senses and they are going free. They are going everywhere. I am running behind them. Please come back, come back. Okay? Who has to do it? Who has to bring back my senses? Government? Society? Community? Parents? Children? Neighbors? Who? I alone am responsible for my own unintelligent way of life. The ability to bring all my senses under my control and I decide what they have to do is called Dhammaha. Mastery over my senses. We will continue tomorrow. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.